We probably started working on migraine in a long time ago, early 1990s. And the reason that we started working on it is that I had sort of got the hang of working on complex disorders. And I started to think about migraine because I suffer from it, runs in my family, and my son started suffering from it when he was quite young, about 5 or 6. And then I thought there's a genetic component. So we started the same way as others, collecting cases, controls and families, and started working on migraine, but realised that there are subtypes of migraine too, so migraine with and without aura. It does affect an enormous number of people, probably at least 12% in the Australian population, right up to about 20%. But in terms of how do you diagnose it, there is no diagnostic test for common forms of migraine. It's just how you describe your symptoms.
Yeah.
And that's not a great way to diagnose someone. It's also not a good way to define what type of migraine it is or what might be a suitable treatment. So I thought there was a need for more research on that. Over the years, we've continued doing that. There's now over 120 different genes that have been implicated in migraine, particularly in the common sorts. But we also know that there are rare subtypes of migraine that have causative mutations as well. So this means it's not susceptibility variant, particularly the common forms of migraine. There are well-known triggers for it. And there are certain foods that can be a trigger. Sometimes having not enough coffee or too much coffee can be a trigger. Sometimes it's weather changes. Sometimes things like smells, strong perfumes, cigarette smoke, something like that can cause migraine too. But these are the triggers for those who've got the genetic background. In terms of identifying the genetic background, one of the genes that we identified as playing a role was a gene called MTHFR, methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase gene. That gene's been involved in a number of disorders, some susceptibility for some types of cancer has been some of the things, but also a few neurological disorders. What we found is that people, particularly those who suffer from migraine with aura, are more likely to have a version of that gene than people who don't. And that particular version means that the product of the gene, the enzyme, doesn't work as well. In fact, quite a significant downturn in that. But you can make it work better by adding the cofactors for it. And the cofactors are a group of vitamins. So folate itself fits in that pathway and some of the B group vitamins. So we did some phase 2 and phase 3 trials and showed significant outcomes on people's migraines if they were migraine with aura and if they had that specific mutation in that gene. Wine is often a trigger, particularly red wine for a number of people. And I suffer from migraine and sometimes red wine can be a trigger. White wine's not so bad. And it's thought to be the flavonoids. But yeah, there's different triggers for different people. And it's usually good things like caffeine and wine and chocolate.